sponsors, whatever you want to call it, please go to Bassin Online that you see at the bottom if you're interested, and go to the contact page on Bassin Online. Also, Bassin Magazine podcast, which is this podcast, and the Let's Talk Fishing podcast are both looking for advertiser sponsors. And what we offer is creative packages where we work with you to best promote, sell your products. With me tonight, I have the man, the myth, the legend, big bass guide, Texas bass guide, the guy who caught the giant freaking bass, 17.03 pounds, Jason Conn. How are you doing tonight, Jason?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. You know, Jason, the burning question that's on mine and everybody else's mind, how does a guy catch a 17.03 pound bass? Tell us the story. Tell us where you caught it. Tell us everything you're willing to tell us.
Well, first of all, a man that wants to catch a bass, period, has got to have a little bit of luck on their side.
Of course.
And then you got to have the fishing gods and God. Those are the main things. But you got to be in position. You got to have a little bit of talent, a little bit of that, you know. But I just was at the right place at the right time. I was on OHIV, and I was just showing some people how to, you know, use live scope, and just happened to be there, and she was underneath the trolling motor, and we just caught her. We caught her, you know, right at the boat. But it was, you know, I caught her with an Alabama rig, and it was a weird deal. I mean, I wasn't throwing at that fish. I actually threw it at a different fish, and we were drifting back, and then I just happened to look down. That fish that I threw at kind of burned off, you know, to the side. I just happened to look down at the trolling motor, and I saw her. She was up, you know, about 15 foot down on the bottom. And my client, I'd said, "Hey man, look, there's a freaking giant right there on the, you know, underneath the trolling motor." So we drifted over a little bit further, and, you know, I just kind of was reeling in and pulled my bait over the top of her head. And as soon as it came over her head, she just came up off the bottom and hit it. And, you know, it was all hell broke there.
All hell broke loose, right? Now tell me, people say that the giant bass don't fight like a 6-pounder will fight. Is that true?
Man, you know, I don't remember a whole lot, but yeah, I mean, you could tell it was heavy. You could tell it was a big fish. You know, when I pulled and set the hook, she'd come up and she shook her mouth trying to shake the bait out. You know, so that point, you know, I couldn't, you know, she was coming at me, so it wasn't much of a fight. But then when she went down and kind of was going away from me, you know, obviously I was using an Alabama rig, so some more hooks got in her at that point when she was going away. So it felt like a log at that point. So it was just almost like pulling dead weight. So, I mean, you know, I knew it was a giant. I knew it was a big, heavy fish, but, you know, it didn't get put up the, you know, the fight that a 6-pounder or so would.
I'm sure it's a little bit bigger, a little bit different than a 6-pounder, because, I mean, there's no way you're going to boat flip a 17-pounder. I mean, I hope you had a net.
Yeah, we got her in the net. Yeah, all that fiasco was just crazy.
I mean, the mouth was.
Yeah, I could have stuck both my fists in her mouth. Yeah, when I was holding her at one point, I was holding her like this because there's no way I could have held her. And then I handed her to my customer because I needed to get the scale out to actually weigh her, and he was having to hold her with 2 hands as well.
Jeez, took a picture with.
Yeah, I could have lifted weights with that.
Or like big old stomach full of eggs.
Yeah, I was. It's crazy. We went to dinner that night, and then things just kept. My customers that were with me, they just kept saying, "Man, you remember this?" I'm like, "No, I really don't," because my mind was just in awe. Like it was just like from the time I saw her till the time we weighed her until probably I got through with dinner. I don't remember much. It's just like it just has to happen to you for you to feel that. Like it's a rush. You know, your mind's going in a million directions because you just, you know, I'm 43 now, 42 when it happened, and I've lived my whole life and doing that, bass fishing, being just a fanatic for fish, and you know, I live and breathe it. I'm surprised I'm not divorced yet because of it. You know,
I am.
It's just one of them deals, you know. Like you know, it's crazy, it's wild.
I mean, you must have been shaking when you saw that fish. It's just like,
yeah. When she came up, I mean, if you watch the video enough, you'll see my reaction. I'm just like, I'm trying not to cuss. I'm trying to, get the net, trying to direct them how to get the net, and thinking, man, am I going to have to reach down and grab this fish myself? I mean, it's just so much going through your mind at once, and excitement, and nervous, and tons of different emotions.
I bet. I don't. I mean, I like to be perfectly honest with the people who watch my podcast. Well, everybody knows I grew up in Northern Illinois, and I lived my first 45 years up there. The biggest bass I have ever caught was just a hair over 7 pounds, which still is a monster up in Northern Illinois. They just don't grow that big up there. In fact, for many, many, many years, my biggest bass was a smallmouth bass until I caught the 7-pound largemouth,
Yeah.
And I was a bass guide on the water almost every night for at least 4 months out of the year. You can't guide 12 months out of the year up in the Northland.
Right. Yeah.
It's up in ice, and I'm not an ice fisherman, so.
You can ice fish, can't you?
I don't ice fish. I'd rather hunt in the wintertime.
I got you.
Then, with how much I have to do with full-time working and guiding and writing, I hibernated at least 1 month out of the year.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah, I understand. I like to hunt, but I hadn't got to do a whole lot of that lately because of guiding or fishing.
Well, so you caught this monster bass on OH Ivy. Did you catch other bass that were over 10 in OH Ivy this year?
Yeah, man. A lot of these guys they keep up with their double digits and all this, and I don't know. I mean, we've caught a bunch. I don't know how many. I caught a 14 in December. We had a 13 forward late December. Caught numerous 12s from December to January, almost 13 pounders. Lots of 10s, 11 pounders, some that we didn't post and didn't talk about. But yeah, we caught a bunch, and I'm gonna be going back down there again this year, probably a little earlier this time, probably September, October, and I'm gonna probably be down there all the way till February this next time.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to schedule a trip with you out to OH Ivy between October and February,
mm-hmm.
And guys, right there is Jason's phone number. Give him a call. I'm sure he's gonna fill up quickly this year because of his success from last year.
Yeah, we're already getting booked up pretty quick. Text me, texting me is better. Get a hold of me that way than calling me because I like to text better.
Sure, I get it, man. I get it. So you had an Alabama rig. Mm-hmm. Are there other ways that you fish for big bass on OH Ivy?
Yeah, man, I caught that 14 pounder on a 10XD. So we caught numerous 12s on a Demiki rig. Alabama.
A Demiki rig?
Yeah, Demiki rig.
Wow.
Yeah. What else? I caught some on a Carolina rig actually. I don't know if we caught any double digits, but we caught some 8s and 9s on a Carolina rig late in the fall last year out there.
Now that's how I've caught most of my big bass is on Carolina rigs and pre-spawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't imagine pulling a big old crank and having a 10-pounder.
Yeah.
I'm snagged. That's on a snag.
Yeah. Well, that 14 I caught, I saw a group of 5 of them, and every one of them was that size or bigger. And when I pulled, I was obviously bumping that 10XD off the bottom, and I pulled it through there once. I had a client with me, and I was like, man, I don't know if they're bass because nothing moved, nothing changed. I was like, let me throw there one more time. So I threw over there the next time, and that one hit it, and it just come up like a log too. It didn't even fight hardly. It was that 14 pounder. She was 27 inches long too, just like my 17.
27.
She didn't have a belly on her though.
Wow.
Yeah, I could
That's
just.
all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm telling you, the other ones were just as big, if not bigger. That I saw on the live scope. So yeah, it was pretty wild. So
you also guide on another lake other than OH Ivy, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I primarily guide on Lake Fork. That's where I've been guiding for 10 years. Yeah.
Lake Fork, land of the giants.
Land of giants. Yeah, Ivy's got them too. I'm not gonna take nothing away.
Well, of course it does, man. I mean, Texas. One thing we forgot to cover. What happened to this 17-pounder after you caught it?
I filleted her and I ate her on the half shell.
I didn't see that one coming.
got to spice it up a little bit. Man, I took her in, weighed her. We called the Texas Share Locker program, which is a very good program. I'm behind them 100%, and I'll always call them if we have one, and I'll always try to persuade my customers to do the same. But if you don't know what they do, they take the fish, they put them in bunkers out there in Athens, and they keep them there until they spawn. Sometimes they don't spawn, sometimes they do. Then they just take those fingerlings and then they put them back in, the lake. Put most of them in the lake where they came from, and then they spread out, through other lakes across Texas.
And the big girl, what happened to her?
She got released on Monday, healthy. Unfortunately, which I almost cried. Yeah, I almost cried. I wasn't able to be there. I had clients that I was already booked out, and I just, I didn't feel it was right to cancel on a customer or any of that. And I didn't have any time to reschedule him till later this summer, and he wanted to be here. So I just let my buddy Dalton Smith, who also had caught a share lunker, and he released her for me. And the share lunker people, they had a video out, camera out there, and they videoed the whole release. But Dalton called me after he released her and told me that he basically tore up her hand, or his hand, and that she fought to get out of his hand to go back into the water. So he didn't get to do much videoing because she wanted back in that lake. So she's home. She was released where I caught her. Dalton was the only person there that, other than my clients, that knew where I caught her. So he put her back there where she was at. So I'm going to go back out there this year and catch her again.
When she's 19 pounds.
Hopefully.
Man, that is a fantastic story, because now her genetics are assured.
Yeah. And she's got a chip in her too. So if anybody other than me catches her, they'll know, and we'll be able to kind of see if she's caught again and all that. Maybe if she dies at 20 pounds, she'll float up and they'll know it was mine.
Wow. So right now you're guiding on Lake Fork.
Yes, sir.
Wow. How's that going?
Well, it's like some old past relationships I was in. It's up and down.
Yes.
Man, it's
the life of a fisherman. Yeah.
It's been very hit and miss, and I'll explain why. So, I mean, I'm not an expert, and it may not be the reason why, but this is my theory. The lake was low last year, 7 foot low, and we had a bunch of stuff that grew up on the banks, bushes, grass, weeds, tons of different things that grew up. Now the lake's back full. Well, it's a foot low. So 6 foot of water is back into the lake. So all that stuff that grew up on the bare bank is now underwater. So a lot of the fish that are spawning now and have been are going behind all that stuff, where you can't get a boat, you can't get a bait, you can't get back there. So it's made it tough. It's been challenging to catch fish. We're still doing it. We're catching them, but it's very tricky. And there's only very few baits I've been able to get through to it. And then they're on beds. And if you can find places that don't have all that stuff, you can go look for the beds and you can catch them that way. A frog and flipping on beds is about the only way I've been able to catch them lately.
Okay.
I've seen some shad spawn going on early in the mornings. It's just very short and very, very few spots. But if I'm at Lake Fork right now, I got 2 baits right here. I would be throwing a toad thumper frog. I like the swamper. It's the one that kind of moves almost like a spook, like a walking bait. It walks a lot better. But a lot of people like popping frogs, but I like the walking ones better.
Hey, Jason, we have a question from the audience here.
Okay.
It's from Austin Kiefer. He said in mid-May they should move back out to the trees, right?
Man, some of the early spawning fish that were up there early, yeah, they'll be back out. I don't know if they'll be in the trees, but they'll be out. They'll probably be out on the humps, your road beds, your points, your drop offs, your areas like that, which is what I like to do. But yeah, I've actually graphed a couple of the points and areas where I usually start to catch them early this time of year offshore, and there are some fish that have already started, 2 or 3 fish though. I'm looking for 15 to 20 in a group and not, one or two or three. So, but yeah, mid-May, yeah. I mean, if it stays like it is right now, I mean, I'm out here sitting outside with a hoodie on in late April. So if the water temp stays low and cool, they may stay up shallow. You'll have shad spawn still going on. You're going to have a ton of fry. You're going to have brim, your brim spawn, your all that stuff going on too. So, there's no telling. It really just depends on the water temps is what I'd guess.
Well, thank you for your question, Austin.
Yeah. Thanks, Austin.
So, but right now you're looking for the spawners on their beds, and you're throwing your hollow body frogs.
So basically, what I'm doing is I'll if I can see a bed at a distance, I'll personally will fire my frog over there and pop it over that bed. If I see a fish hit it, knock it out of the water, sometimes I'll jerk it away, just so I can run up there and see. And sometimes we'll all be throwing frogs, and we'll just hopefully catch them. But if not, you can run over there. You can find your beds. You need to stop in Lake Fork Resort if you're at Lake Fork Resort or at Lake Fork and grab you some of these right here. This is the Toad Thumper Crawl.
Wow.
Pearl white. Everybody knows that I love white when I'm throwing on beds out there at that lake. You can get you some of the spray dye and dip the tail a little bit if you want. Also the crawgill. I've used both, and I don't know which one's better, but they both work. They both work very well. So that's all I have on. I mean, I haven't even bought a bait in forever because that's what I've been using right there.
You Texas rigging those, or?
Yeah, I'm putting a 3/8 weight on those and Texas rigging it, and we caught 2 overs on Monday, two fish over 24 inches on Monday. One was only a little over 7 pounds, and one was 8 pounds, a little over 8 pounds. So, I mean, one of them was very post spawn. She was skinny as a rail. She probably should have been 10 pounds, but.
Okay, we have another question from Austin. He said, "Great answer and thank you. Historically, what maps have seemed to have the most accurate and updated boat lanes to run?" He's new to the lake and he wants to play it kind of safe.
If you're looking for a guide lane, is that what you're wanting? Like a guide for guide lanes?
The most updated lanes that you can run safely.
Lance Vick, he has the absolute best guide lanes that I've seen. I use them. Well, I don't anymore because I've used them so long. I know all the lanes, but Lance Vick has it. I'm not exactly sure what the name of it is, but if you just look up Lance Vick, his guide lane chip, or you can go to Lake Fork Resort and call them, and they have them up there.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you, Austin. That was a good question, because that definitely anybody who spent any time on Lake Fork, if you haven't done them yourself, you've seen people who have.
I would recommend having one if you're going to run anywhere outside the boat lane on that lake for sure, especially right.
Yeah,
because a lot of those stumps are this far under the water.
That's just mean.
Yeah, it's very. I would rather the lake be 3 foot low or all the way full, because right now those stumps. I mean, luckily I have a wrap on that thing, because if I didn't have a wrap, man, I feel sorry for the guy that's going to buy it.
Scratches all over the place. Huh?
That wrap has taken a beating, and it hadn't gone through the wrap. But yeah, you definitely need a boat lane chip if you're going to be on for it. If you don't know it.
Well, anybody who's ever fished Texas understands that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of the fishing I've done in Texas has been with guides, and every single one of them hit them at one time during the day.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it was only at 2 miles an hour, and I thank you for that.
Oh, I know. I've let off a couple of times. I let off pad and went, and my boat hit one and went over it. not on this boat, but in the past.
Oh, good Lord! Huh?
I was running a camera boat for the elites. I guess it was at the year COVID happened, and I had the camera guy on the boat, and I was running a lane that I've been running forever, and I might have let off about 20 yards too soon or too late. And as soon as I let off, my boat was coasting, and it hit the stump and went flying up in the air, went right over it.
Oh,
didn't hurt anything.
As long as everybody was okay.
Yeah. All right, I might have hurt my pride a little bit, but
yeah. Well, you live long enough, that'll get hurt.
But yeah, I mean those two, if you're coming out the fork here in the next couple of weeks, I would definitely get out there early as you can and go just go check the clay banks and look for the shad spawn. Look for the birds. I mean, the white birds, you're not gonna be able to miss those. It's hard to see the herons sometimes, but there's a lot of little brush growing up too out there. The little green, I think it might be buckbrush. I don't know what it is, but there's a bunch of stuff that's coming up, quite a ways off the bank. And I've seen quite a few shad, run around in that. And I hadn't done any shad spawn fishing yet because I've been on the frog and the Texas rig deal. But yeah, I know for sure that there is some shad starting to spawn there. I've seen it.
Okay. Now, when you're throwing into a shad spawn, what are you going to be using?
I mean, an underspin with a little swim bait on it, or just a swim jig. I actually did throw a swim jig a little bit the other day. I didn't get bit, but a swim jig is probably the number one bait I'd be throwing for sure.
Boy, I get that. Historically, I've always used a rattle trap, but I'd rather use a swim jig just because of the single hook. It's a better hookup ratio.
Buzz bait,
better keep them hook ratio.
A buzz bait works really well too.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like the shad. Thousands of shads.
Mag draft works good. Just a regular little. That's another thing I've been throwing too. I didn't mention. I've been throwing up through all this junk. The brush and the weeds and all the stuff is just a little small white swim bait, weightless with no weight, nothing on it. Just put like a Texas rig in it, like a Cinco or something, and just running that thing like this far. Maybe an inch under the water. That's actually probably been my second best bait to get bit on.
We have another comment from the audience. It's Todd Hinnebush. Todd's been on the show before. He's one of the Vector Hooks boys. And he says, Jason is an awesome guy.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Todd's been a big part of Vector Hooks. He's been there since day one. He's been there longer than I have.
Thank you, Todd. If you need somebody to rep your hooks, holler at me.
That'd be Vector Hooks, man. Yeah, just talk to Todd. He'll hook you up with that. Ha! So let's kind of go through. So right now we're in the beginning of shad spawning season, the beginning of bass spawning season. What about when we really get into the spawn and fish are coming, fish are going, and fish are sitting on the beds? Do you change up anything when that happens?
Man, I mean, like I said, when the shad are spawning, like right now, I hadn't even been starting my trips till 9 a.m. because there's no, you're looking for fish on beds. You need that sun to be up just a little bit. If the sun's not up, you're not gonna be able to see them. So now the shad spawn's starting. I'm gonna get out. Probably next week. I'm gonna be getting on the water at daylight. We're gonna go find a shad spawn somewhere. We're gonna wreck those as much as we can, and then once that kind of ends, we're gonna head over to looking for beds, throwing frogs. There's fry already everywhere. I mean, mostly the back of all these little small pockets, there's fry everywhere. I've took some cool pictures the other day of some, but so the frog bite's probably going to go on from now until, probably June or, probably deep into the summer, late June, probably you'll be able to catch them on frogs. You just, they'll be guarding that fry for a while. And we're going to have, with this cooler weather, we're going to have a whole nother push, of fish come up to spawn here after this, even in late May. Or whenever the next full moon is. So that's sometime in May. So after that happens, you're going to have more spawners, spawning them, and that their fry is going to take a week or two for it to come up. So you're looking at June. You're going to be able to frog fish all day, and then once those fish start to push offshore, the ones that already spawn, back in March, we'll be then we can move out there offshore and start catching some of them deeper fish too. With Carolina rig or big worms. Big worms will start coming into play here in probably in May sometime.
You talking 12-inch worms or?
Yeah. Shoot,
okay. Straight worms?
Use it.
Are you using straight worms or Rivendell?
Yeah, I usually use a B&M J-Mag. It's my absolute favorite worm to use on that lake. But I put it on a 3/4 ounce shaky head most of the time. Or a curly tail worm, you can throw that, a big long one, that on a Texas rig, or you can put that on a shaky head as well. I like to throw a Carolina rig fluke whenever I'm out there off that, or a jig, a 3/4 ounce.
Oh, darn it.
Sorry about that. Somebody was calling me.
He's back. Good.
Don't call me right now.
I just exclaimed, "Oh, darn it. I lost him."
Oh, I ain't going anywhere yet.
Okay. I have two questions. When's the best time of the year to come out to Lake Fork for trophy potential?
To Lake Fork for trophy. So what are you calling a trophy?
Anything over 8 pounds.
Anything over 8 pounds? Man. On any good year, I'd say March or April. But that's it, it really, to me, those fish are there. The fish, I mean, they're in the lake. So you can catch them from February, March, April, May, June, July. It really just depends on the kind of fishing that you like to do. I personally rather go set on a point somewhere in 25 foot on a school of 8-pounders and catch them all day with a jig or a Carolina rig. That's what I want to do.
Did you just say catch 8-pounders all day long?
Yeah. I mean,
I want to fish with you.
You're not going to catch them every cast, but
of course not.
You off and on throughout the day, you're going to find schools that are 8-pounders, and we have a lot of 7 to 9 pound bass in Lake Fork, and that's what we got. And we don't have schools of 13-pounders, like I've seen at Ivy, like the 5 I told you about I saw were all over 14 pounds. We don't have that at Fork that I've seen.
So do you fish during the day all year long? Because some of the guides like to fish at night in the middle of summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the summer I'll run 2 to 3 trips a day. Like starting June 1st, I'll do a full day and a half day. So full day's 8 hours, half day's 4. So I'll run an 8-hour trip, and then I'll get off it and run a 4-hour. Or some days I'll run three half days, 3 4-hour trips every day. I mean, someday I'll take Saturdays off sometimes, but yeah. And then but it's all during the day, and then throughout the summer.
Wow, guys, get your reservations in with this guy, man.
Well, we don't have any availability till sometime in July, and we don't have much left in July. But I am starting to take on trips for the fall at Ivy. So if you want to get in on some of those trips, you better get. I hadn't posted it yet, but if you're watching and you want to get in on some of that, you need to get with me real quick, because I'm going to post that soon, and I would imagine that they'll probably book up pretty quick.
Okay, we have another question from Austin. He said, have you given much time to throw in a glide bait? What situation would you prefer to throw one over a mag draft? He said, in my mind, he'd be throwing a mag draft shallow in the brush, a glide, and in the trees.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not much of a glide thrower. It's, and I'm moving so much water, pints and stuff, but the only reason I'd be throwing the mag draft is if I'm throwing in a shad spawn where they're up there on the bank, and when you got to throw that bait on the bank and you're just reeling it through, a school of bass that are up there feeding on the shad. Glide bait is what, you would want to be using for the last month or so, those pre-spawners that are coming up on them shell beds and, coming up on the clay banks when it warms up, because that's the stuff that warms up the quickest. And that's when the is more into play on Fork.
Okay, well, that was another good question from Austin.
Yeah.
So what month? Okay, go ahead.
I don't throw the mag draft that much. I mean, that's just something I will throw in a shad spawn time. But I like the swim jig more than a mag draft for sure.
Okay. So what months do you guide Lake Fork?
Usually, sometime in February through August or September, October usually. And then normally I'm deer hunting, but everybody wants me to go to Ivy now. So my deer hunting and all my hunting stuff's kind of gone out, but I'll fix it up this year. I'm going to do like a week out there, and then I'm going to go, hunt a week, and, I'm going to switch it up. I don't want to burn myself out on it. It's a lot of work. So
yeah.
And I got a family and kids, so.
Yeah, Jason, be careful of that. That's why I no longer guide.
I don't miss the sports and the things that have meaning, but I'm not always home at night. But it can be challenging at times.
Wow. So in the middle of the summer, You're throwing the big soft plastics.
Mm-hmm. Man, my absolute favorite bait in the summer is a V&M J Mag. If they got those at Lake Fork Resort as well. It's I don't know. It's just them big bass out there. They love big worms in the summer. So that and the Carolina rig fluke, you can't go wrong with that. And V&M's they've got some different style of flukes that they make. It's called a port shad, and there's a couple of different colors that they the Outlaw Magic kind of made that one famous a couple of years ago at Lake Fork, and we can't even keep it in stock at Lake Fork Resort. That color is amazing out there. So definitely want to stock up on the Outlaw Magic color in a pork shad for sure.
So when you're throwing these soft plastics, are you targeting the deep water and standing timber?
Man, I try to stay away from the timber if I can. A lot of these fish, I call these spots dinner table. So you'll have a tree line, or you'll have an area where they hang out. You don't want to fish that. You want to find the little flat areas where the shell beds are a flat or something like that. And every spot I call the dinner table where I catch them, because it's off the trees. I can throw in the trees and catch them too, but you lose a bunch of the fish. So you wait whenever they pull up on that dinner table, they're pulling up out there to feed. The shad's usually out there, or it's shell, it's hard, it's rock, it's a hard bottom, something like that. And you just drag through there and you catch them. If they're there when you pull up, I can't tell you how many customers I pulled up and they saw my eyes light up. And I said, we're about to wreck them. We got up there. What do? We wrecked them.
They're here. Yeah.
They're at the table. They're ready to eat. That's cool. I mean, that's something else you can learn by fishing with me, is I'm going to teach you every step of the way, from where to go look, how to see it, how to look at it, how to judge if they're there, if they're ready to eat. I mean, there's times I pulled up on fish and people are like, whoa, they're there. I'm like, ready to eat though. You can tell the difference on the graph if they're ready to eat or if they're not. And I don't tell a lot of people this, and it's kind of one of my tricks, and I shouldn't be telling people that, but I do teach people that fish with me. So, and that's and a lot of the guys that are successful, I mean, that's the same way. Lee Livesey, he does the same thing. He knows how to read a graph, and if you can look at the fish on the graph on your side and down scan, you can tell if they're going to eat it or if they're not. It's a dang good tactic for sure.
Oh yeah. That's exciting. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got your live sonar now, and we're targeting them that way. So these fish don't stand a chance anymore.
Of course. Well, that is fantastic. I'm still trying to get over this whole schools of 8-pound fish. That's
they're there
to a northern guy where, if I find a school of 2.5 to 3.5 pound fish, I am excited.
Yeah. No, they're
taking checks home in tournaments with bags of 3.5 pounders,
Yeah. Well, me and a couple of guys that, I'm not saying I don't like anybody, but me and a couple of the guys, we talk and we text back and forth. And, if I'm on a spot,
sure,
we'll catch 2 or 3 or 4 and we'll leave and hey, come over here, and that way he can put his customers on some of those fish. We try to share a couple of those holes because it's that lake fish is small, and
that's how you have to do it when you're guiding. Because if I'm on the grind and I know another guy's on the lake, I'm calling him, hey man, help me out here.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that same guy knew he could do the same with me.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm having a tough day. Well, come on over here. I'll give you the spot.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you got to do, man. You got to respect each other. You got to understand that we're all in this to do the same thing. We're all out there to put our clients on fish. If you can all get along, it'd be a lot better out there on that water. There's so many guys that are haters and just negative and just think they own the lake and this and that. And it's just, man, you can take that somewhere else. Keep that stuff away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guided for 17 years. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
When I get out there and start catching these fish offshore and stuff and start posting pictures, same people start showing up. But it is what it is, and it's a public lake, and you can do what you want. You can fish where you want, and if I see you on one of the spots that I fish every day, I'm going to keep on rolling on to another spot. I'm not going to be mad at you. Go catch those fish, and I'll go to another hole and catch some. I'm going to look at the positive side of things.
Well, hey, Jason, do you have any shout outs you'd like to do? Any thank yous to any people, organizations, companies?
Oh, man, I want to say hello and thank you to all of my haters. I love you guys for sure. But no, yes, I do. I can't wait for the post that's going to come out here in the next few weeks. So I can't wait for this one because all of you guys, you're going to get to see. You're going to get to see. But anyways, yes, I do want to. I do have something big that's coming out. I can't talk about it at the moment. But Fun and Sun Boats in Phoenix, I love you guys. I think you stood behind me. And this next year, we got something big coming, and they're taking care of me. And I love you guys, and from the bottom of my heart. Y'all don't even understand it. It make me cry right here. But anyway, Toad Thumper, I just got with these guys. The lead singer, Whiskey Myers, is the guy that created these baits. And him and I have been working together on a lot of other stuff that we're about to come out with. The frogs, he put a lot into those. We tested them. We ran them for a while before he even put them on the market. I mean, this dude does everything to perfection. The baits that he makes, the crawls, the stuff I've already showed you guys, the stuff that we flip on the beds. There's a jig coming out. There's about to come out. There's a swim jig, possibly a swim bait going to be coming out here before you know it. There's a bunch of things in the works on that side. So Toad Thumper, I'm still a part of it with B&M. Their worms and stuff, the jigs, all that stuff. Love them. Thank you guys for all that you've done for me. These things right here, I guess I probably should have mentioned these. This is the most important thing that I have right here. Bahio. These glasses right here, I could not catch the fish I catch without these glasses right here this time of year. When we're looking on beds and things like that, I mean, you've got to have these. You've got to have the glasses. And I've gotten so many different customers of mine wearing these glasses now, and they thank me every single day for turning them onto these glasses. They flex. They're not tight on your head like some glasses are and give you headaches.
Yes,
that is huge for me.
That is huge.
These lenses I have are amber. These work great in Texas waters, more like dingy, a little bit dirtier water. But yeah, these are my favorite. The Vegas are the ones I wear. Has the big side right here that covers covers the glare, keeps the glare from coming in the side where you can actually see the beds a lot better when you're looking into the water. So, but yeah, all the guys I mentioned, thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Y'all been there. North Texas Cards, Jeremy Earnhardt, tons of people. All my Broken Bow people, your name's on my boat. Plano Tree Care, Co Wetzel, you're crazy. You make my liver hurt after I hang out with you. Man, I'm sure I forgot somebody, but they love me and I know they do. So I thank everybody and the Share Lunker people, man. Those people have been nothing but good to me, and I thank them for taking good care of my fish. Texas Parks and Wildlife, I love all you guys, all the game wardens, love you all.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to our viewers here on the Bassin Magazine podcast. I'm going to be ending the show here quickly, but Jason, stick around. I'd like to talk to you for 2 minutes afterwards. Guys, thank you for tuning into a very special edition of the Bassin Magazine podcast. Guys, Bassin Magazine is the official magazine of the Weekend Angler. And remember, guys, Bassin Magazine podcast are both looking for advertisers, sponsors, whatever you want to call them. We're looking for supporters. Please subscribe to my podcast, my YouTube account, which is Let's Talk Fishing Video, which is what you're watching right now. Again, my name is Jay Angel, and I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. With that, I'm going to end the podcast, and thank you very much for tuning in.